It's here. It's here. It's finally here. It's here. It's here. It's finally here. It's here. It's here. It's finally here. Why am I plugging this in? That's not even... Fuck me. Also need my other two paddles, and now I can make this video. So, I've been using the PowerA Fusion Pro for about 3 months now. Over the course of these last 3 months, this controller has proven to be one of the best controllers on the market in my opinion. But today I'll be giving you guys all the information I have and all the things I've learned from this controller over these past 3 months. The good, the bad, the really ugly, the loose fucking paddles, we'll talk about it in a minute, and everything in between. So if you do go on to enjoy this video, please be sure to drop us a sub. We just hit 10,000 this year, or last year, and we're going for 50,000 this year. I forgot I'm recording this in 2020. So before we hop into its in-game performance and see how it performs with shooter games, driving games, shit like that, we first need to talk about the condition of this controller, because we all know how important that is on this channel. I am so unbelievably happy to report this controller is in near perfect condition after 3 months. A game I'm regularly benchmarking these controllers with is Fortnite, and when I drop my dead zones all the way down to 5%, there's still no sign of stick drift anywhere on this controller. Thankfully, as notorious as Xbox bumpers are, they have not given out. ABXY still work perfectly fine, but there's always some bullshit hidden in every single video of mine. Y'all know this. The one negative downside to this controller is unfortunately the paddles. I don't know how much worse it's gonna get, but they have started to loosen up a bit over these past few months. It's not white girl on a bar weekend type loose. It's like I accidentally let the dog out, but you have a fenced-in backyard, but the fence is open type loose. If that was a bit too descriptive, I'm sorry. Now, like I said before, these paddles aren't insanely loose, but they are very noticeably loose, to the point where it is kind of difficult for me to use all four. I mean, it was difficult for me to use all 4 paddles before this anyways, but now it's just not there. I can't do it. This is one of the biggest complaints from this controller, that stick drift and other basic things, but I have had one guy say that the pieces that keep the paddles in have stripped completely, so I suppose we'll just have to see how that works out in the next few months. One thing that will also end up happening is when you're using these paddles and your hands are moving around the controller, you might accidentally put your finger underneath the paddle, and when you pull up, yeah. I've done that a handful of times, not many, but that is something to consider. Other than the loosening paddles, this controller is in tip-top ship-shape condition. I don't know what the hell I was going to say there, but we got there. We did it. So as always, we'll be taking a look at my performance in a couple of games to get a better understanding of where this controller actually belongs. Spoiler alert, I love this thing for shooter games. First and third person. Doesn't matter what fucking point of view, third person, sixth person, eighth dimension, it doesn't matter. Now I have quite a few controllers laying around my room, but I've also had the experience of the Elite controllers, a couple of SCUF controllers, a couple of SCUF PS4 controllers, and out of all of them, man, I really like these thumbsticks. These are some of the finest thumbsticks I have ever laid my thumbs on, being 100% honest. They're very closely modeled after the original Xbox One thumbsticks, but these sticks are extremely precise, extremely quick, and feel much better than a stock controller. At least that's how I feel. The controller's smaller design, like I've said in the past, makes it much more accessible to people with smaller hands, but it also makes it a lot easier to use the thumbsticks in tandem with the paddles, which is kind of the reason they're there. Manufacturers, specifically Microsoft, should be taking note of this controller's design. Its slimmed out shoulders, specifically. I know the new Xbox One, I was about to say Xbox One X, Xbox Series X controller. I know that is a bit slimmer with the bumpers, but this honestly should have been a thing that was common a long time ago. It's all too common that I pick up a controller that looks good and looks fun to use, but in hand, it's really uncomfortable because the paddles are not as accessible with the thumbsticks, at least trying to use them at the same time. Like the Elite Series 2 was, I honestly believe that's the most uncomfortable controller I've ever used, but I have to have it again. Keep an eye out for like February or March, alright? That controller is extremely bulky. Somehow it is still about 20 grams lighter than this controller. I'm dead serious. Now, this controller is designed amazingly, but what isn't is the trigger stops, and I've gone over this before. Now, PowerA is releasing a new PS4 controller that is wireless, so I am probably going to be buying that because it does have paddles and trigger stops, so I can finally see if they got around to fixing these things and making them actual 3-way trigger stops. They probably haven't. I'm just gonna take a wild guess. I'm very curious about that controller because these trigger stops fucking suck. Some people say they use T2, which is the middle trigger stop. It's supposed to go down about halfway, and then the third trigger stop should be closer to a button than anything. but T2 is like bullshit. I've gone over this more in my other PowerA Fusion Pro videos, so you can go check those out if you're looking for a little bit more detail, but that's pretty much the sum up. These trigger stops are not great. They don't slip though. Here's the thing, I didn't say this in any of my other PowerA videos, but I can totally let the trigger stops go because they work, they don't slip, and I'm getting a controller with swappable thumbsticks, removable paddles, remappable paddles, and probably one of the best designs for a controller for about 80 bucks. So the trigger stops, I'll let that slide. Something is weird with my triggers though. I don't know if it's my specific controller, but in my driving games, I don't really like to use this controller because I can't actually push the gas all the way down. Small update, the issues I was having with my triggers in BeamNG were due to a firmware update that I hadn't installed. I'll leave a link to it down in the description. Of course it is for PC and Mac only, but the firmware update also has you calibrate your controller, which is something I hadn't done yet up until this point. Now my triggers work perfectly fine, and my headphone jack actually sounds a little bit better now. So people having issues with your triggers, your headphone jack, firmware update, description down below. So at the end of the day, I could totally recommend the PowerA Fusion Pro, as it is one of the best controllers, especially when it comes to how much you're paying for the controller. You can't beat this. The only thing that could even rival this is the Razer Wolverine Tournament Edition, which I will be doing a video on very soon. I'll have my review out, I don't know when. These controllers right here should be going head to head sometime soon. In fact, I was actually considering waiting to compare these two controllers because of the Elite Series 2 and, buying that'd be pretty cool. Then I could just do a battle of all the 4 paddle controllers. Well, 2 paddle, 2 button, but still. There probably will be a comparison video between these two boys though, as they are very close in price. Both have a similar feature set, but are different in many, many ways, so if you are curious about that, especially this one, be sure to subscribe. I will have links to the Fusion Pro down in the description below. I'll also have links to my previous review and my comparison between this and the Wolverine Ultimate. I'll be doing more comparison videos down the line, don't you worry. We got a new controller and he's got to go through the works. Before we go though, I need to shout out our members. As of the making of this video, the PC Master Race tier is still available, so I will be shouting out those people as well. But for those who don't know, I actually submitted to have the PC Master Race tier removed the other day. It's not something I can keep up with, especially trying to make an extra video each week. I used to do 3 videos a week and that fucking drained me. Working on 2 videos a week now, that the flow that I have going with my workflow, it's hard to make another video in between all that, especially when you have videos piling on top of each other because when you're as lazy as I am, that happens. But we need to shout out our members, starting with the console tier. So, the biggest of shout outs to JG, Waterless, God, Exo Casper, Nenzaki, Maynard Lano, Jackie Evans, 4Kid, and Young. And a final big shout out to our PC Master Race tier with Noah Jacques, Nick Garcia, and Loris P. To those who have been supporting me since I've got my memberships, or even if you just joined yesterday, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. That $1 a month, that $2 a month that you're giving these YouTubers who are as big as I am makes a humongous difference. So thank you guys so much. Anyways, I hope to see you guys. What am I doing next week? Oh, I'm comparing the Wolverine and the Wolverine. Have fun with that. I hope to see you guys in that video though. Peace.